So today we are diving into why you might want to rethink twice before packing your bags, loading up the car, the kids, the four-legged babies, and moving to Charlottesville. I love it here. Let me make sure that you totally understand that. I've grown up here. I've moved away. I've come back. I love it here. But let's get real about some of the challenges. You ready? Let's go. So first up on my list, why you may want to actually think about moving to Charlottesville is the traffic, and the bigger part for me, the parking situation. First up, traffic and parking in Charlottesville. Charlottesville may be a small city, but trust me, finding parking downtown can be a real headache and a real challenge. Besides that, if you're not wanting to pay, it's definitely close to impossible. Between restricted tagged parking, such as a neighborhood, which I totally understand, everywhere else, it can be restricted, it can cost money, it can be out of the way, it can be inconvenient. And during peak hours, let's face it, traffic can slow to a crawl. And you can be restricted to limited roads to get around. This might be a shock for many of you. It's not like easy peasy. Oh, instead of going Main Street, we'll go First Street. Oh, First Street is blocked. Let's go second. No. Sometimes if you are trying to get around an accident, road construction, when we do have bad weather, a tree in the road, it may take you quite a distance to get around, because it's not like all the roads here are easy peasy, intermingled, mixing bowl kind of thing. It's Charlottesville. When I'm talking about schlep factor, that to me means more than one way to get to a place easily, and thus, if there is an issue, you can get around. So if you are someone who gets easy road rage, you may want to rethink living in Charlottesville. Next up on our list is the high cost of living. Let's talk about the cost of living. Real estate prices here can be pretty steep. Now, when you look at it, apples to apples, and again, depending on where you're coming from, it may not be as steep as I make it sound, but I would say it's the number one complaint I hear about people when they come here and they're expecting low $100,000 homes, and all they can find is a $500,000 townhome. So cost of living can be increased here. Whether you're looking to buy or rent, prepare to spend more than you might expect. And on that note, do remember, I actually do not do rentals. Now, I totally get if you're going to be relocating to Charlottesville, you want to rent for a few months before we find your perfect home. That is spot on. But in general, if you're a renter, rentals are set up very easily for you to have direct contact with the rental company and to get that settled. So I'm happy to give my opinion. Shocker, I know that you can't believe that. If you've narrowed it down to 2, 3, or 4 rentals, I am more than happy to give you my feedback and opinion. I totally agree that moving into an area that you are not familiar with can be very scary. And I want to take away as much of that angst as possible. So I'm happy to give you my feedback, but in general, I just don't do rentals. The rental market is not set up for the need for me. But do expect that the housing, whether it's rental or purchasing, is probably going to be a little up from what you're thinking. Next up, weather. Now I know I've talked about weather before. We get all 4 seasons, so don't get me wrong on that aspect. Again, I love it here. Grown up. So if it was that horrendous, but I want you to know that the weather here, the summers in Charlottesville, And right now is a prime example. Summers in Charlottesville can get hot and humid, while winters can be chilly and occasionally snowy. Let me delve into that a second. So last week, the entire US, quite honestly, had a heat wave going on. But yesterday, we had temperatures over 100 degrees here in Charlottesville. Now, did we have 100% humidity? No, we didn't. We are not Florida. We are not Georgia. We're not Louisiana or Texas, okay? You don't walk out and feel like you're in a sauna. Here, it's more like you walk out and just feel like you can't breathe. So you have the humidity, but it is not as high as a lot of places, but it can get hot. So don't think you're moving here to a perfect paradise where it's 70 degrees in the mountains all the time. Winters, occasionally snowy. If you're not a fan of seasonal extremes, you might find the weather a little bit challenging. So again, this is why I want you to know, because I don't want you to move here and then see me in the grocery store and be pissed off because I didn't tell you that it got down into the single digits for like a week every winter. The other part of both of those, the heats and the colds, most of our heating and cooling is done with HVAC. So what is an HVAC? For one, predominantly, there are different models, different places. Here in general, in the Charlottesville area, our HVAC systems give us our heat and our air conditioning. So we have central heat and central air conditioning, but it is traditionally pure electricity run and fueled, electricity fueled. So I just paid my Dominion power bill yesterday, and even though it was for the month of June, which for me would traditionally be like $125, and just FYI, I know this will shock you, I like it cool. So at night, we actually put our temperature down on 70 degrees. Anyway, our power bill, because of a lot of the heat has last month came in early, our power bill was just shy of $200, which is very unusual. But I say that, if you go back to one of my other videos talking about in February, I think it was, one of our power bills for heating, because again, it dropped down into the single digits, my HVAC bill, my heating bill, actually was just at about $400. So that's something I want you to be aware of. Now, like I said and I mentioned, HVACs are evolving. And quite honestly, it depends on your comfort, your like, and what you have at your house. If your house is being heated with a wood stove, then the price of wood is more important than the price of electricity. If you are running air conditioning with window units, because let's face it, many of the older, very older homes will either have window conditioners or splits, which are the units that you see up on the wall, then it'll be totally different. But an HVAC that is run on pure electricity is gonna cost depending on the hot and the cold. Some of the HVAC systems now are actually called dual zone or dual fuel. Dual fuel. So not only is it run with electricity, but then the secondary system for it, this is more specifically in winter, the secondary system is propane or natural gas. And why is that? Well, if you're one of my fabulous viewers from up north, you know that most of your systems, your heating systems are oil, natural gas, because it produces that warmth that stays there. A HVAC electric heat is very comfortable and absolutely normally fine. And that's normally what you see going down into the Carolinas, down into Georgia, Texas, and Florida. But when it drops below 32 degrees, that electricity heat in the HVAC is just not as warm and comfortable. The dual fuel, the electricity runs the HVAC until it's about 32 degrees, and then at 32, and this is exterior 32. If it's 32 in your house, we have bigger issues. 32 on the outside. If it drops below 32, that's when the secondary fuel method kicks in so that it maintains that warmth, that comfort, that saturation of, I know you know what I'm talking about, but I don't know if I'm just saying it right. Anyway, seasonal weather extremes, it can be a comfort or discomfort in your wallet too. Next up on my shall we just say shit list is public transportation. If you are either dependent on or relying on public transportation options, they're pretty limited here. Now, within the city of Charlottesville, it's much more reliable that we've got CAT, and if you're connected to the university, they have the Virginia University bus system. But otherwise, quite honestly, it is a car-dependent area. Not only that, from everybody I know, it is a dual car, quite honestly, because things are so spread out. If adult person A goes to work out at NJIC, and then adult person B goes to work out at to the university, and then two-legged baby has to go to soccer practice, more than likely everybody, it just seems like everybody needs a car. So if you don't have a car, getting around can be tricky. The bus system here, it's in place, but it's not always the most convenient. And from what I understand, not always the most timely. Now, there are new apps, and they really have been striving to be more accountable and transparent. So it is improving. But in general, please understand, limited public transportation. It's Charlottesville, Virginia, and it's spread out. So there's just not the infrastructure that's going to get you here and there very easily. If you live at Lake Monticello, but you work in the city of Charlottesville, can you get public transportation? Can you do ride shares? Can you do things like that? Yes, but I'm just letting you know this is a very car dependent area. Next, I want you to make sure that you understand about the university and the town dynamics. If you haven't heard, I'm sure it's a huge kept secret, but the University of Virginia is actually in the city of Charlottesville. So the dynamics overall is the students really keep to themselves. The university population, now there's certain areas that you see and you interact more with students, but in general, they don't. But you need to recognize Charlottesville is home to the University of Virginia, which is awesome for educational and cultural opportunities. So that's a big thing that most places don't have, because even though we have a small town vibe, we have some call it cosmopolitan sort of small town vibe, we get some amazing opportunities because of the University of Virginia. But it also means you will find yourself as a local keeping on their calendar, because you don't want to be on the corner when school's in session. You go back to the parking. You're going to be paying for parking if you can find parking. Then it's just a mini chaos because all the students are down there. You don't want to be hosting major events without consulting their calendar. And here's a prime example. This is nothing new. So good gracious, I've been married 33 years, right? I know, I got married when I was 6. Anyways, and please don't say anything about that because I'm kidding. I just look so fabulous. Anyway, when we got married, my fiance at the time and I wanted to get married on a certain date in October. And we were so excited. That was the date we were going to do. It worked with our family, blah, blah, blah. And then we went to book hotel rooms for our family and friends. And they were already booked because it was a home football game. So again, my personal schedule was affected by the university. Here's another example. When you're trying to host a major event with a home football game, or if you are trying to host a major event or attend an event that's going on during move-in week or graduation, it is totally chaos. Most all of the hotels are booked up. All the restaurants are booked up. As a local, you know to just avoid that entire area. You know not to eat at the restaurants, any closer than a certain distance or anything like that. Now, when the students are gone, like right now, we're in summer. So when the students are gone, it gets really quiet. This is when I will go down to the corner and enjoy one of the fabulous restaurants on the corner. Go get a burger or something like that. There's quite a few restaurants, but I'm not eating down there unless it's summer or a fall break, something like that. So there you go. University of Virginia and town dynamics. So if that was a little bit of helpful information about the calendar and everything, then stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss the rest of my list for you. But again, this is also another reason you need to text me, call me, shoot me an email. And thank you to those who do. It is really fun for me when I get to the office or I get away, finish up with clients, and I have an email from one of my fabulous viewers talking about, hey, I saw your video and I want to do XYZ. So yeah, I do read them, I do receive it, and I normally do respond. Thank you. But this is why you have to do it, so that we're connected and we can make sure that you are being taken care of when moving and living in Charlottesville. Okay, moving on. If you are coming from a large, big city, metropolitan area, you're going to find our entertainment option lacking and a bit limited. Do not get me wrong here. I'm just wanting you to know, I am not the Chamber of Commerce, so this is not all about fairy tales and we have everything for you to do. We have some amazing, great local theaters, restaurants, and events, but definitely on the smaller side and more of a limited engagement. And that doesn't even get me started on how, I swear to you, they roll up the sidewalks no later than 9 p.m. That has always been one of the biggest things I've heard. I hear many of you saying it. The fact is, it can be really hard if you are younger, especially single, in the community, who is being active and involved. There's a ton of stuff to do, but it can feel really restrictive and restrained because it pulls up early. So if you're thinking you're going to be going, I don't even know. We used to have a couple of really good clubs that you could go dancing, but now I don't even know that we have any of those, quite honestly. Of course, I'm not really in that scene anymore, so I could be wrong. If you're local and you know, drop a note and share the love and let the other people know. But just be forewarned, the entertainment and the sidewalk, more Mayberry than DC. Okay? So next, Charlottesville is very blessed to have some amazing, fantastic attractions literally in our backyard. We have two UNESCO World Heritage sites, Monticello and UVA Rotunda, the UVA, the main UVA fixture when you hear or see the University of Virginia. Those are world-class things that people come here to see. We have Mickey Tavern, the Shenandoah National Park, the Appalachian. So we have so much, and it offers us so much to do. And quite honestly, Mickey Tavern is one of my treats because I am here to tell you, if you're vegetarian or vegan, I totally love you. Don't come after me. But if you are a fried chicken meataholic, Mickey Tavern is in the top 2 of my fried chicken preferences. And quite honestly, okay, so I'm just going to go off on this tangent here. If you go to Mickey Tavern It's really cute. It's not cheap, okay? I guess that's the best way to put it. It's considered a buffet, but you go in and you go through, and one of the things they have, so they have fried chicken, which is amazing. They have baked chicken for those of you who are healthy-ish, and then they have some phenomenal barbecue as well. But some of the other stuff, the side dishes on the buffet, one of them is stewed tomatoes, which just sounds disgusting, and I have never liked that. Actually, I don't eat ketchup at all, but their stewed tomatoes, so good. Okay, so now I'm definitely going to be hungry, but here's why I'm telling you this. All right, here's why I'm telling you this. Because whereas we can go up to Mickey Tavern, or we could go, because when we have friends and family and relatives and everything in the area, we'll go up to Monticello, and it's normally not that big of a deal, right? You go up, you park, you buy your tickets. But when it is prime time, especially right now, if I were to go to Mickey Tavern, say this weekend, I would have to wait outside probably for at least 30 minutes to an hour just to get in the door, where normally I'd have to wait like 5 minutes. Same with Monticello, where I could meander the grounds of Monticello and take in Thomas Jefferson's Little Mountain and see the ponds and see the woods and see everything going on. During prime tourism season, we're talking millions of people come here. Another big time of the year for that is leaf peeping season. When you want to go out and you want to be in the mountains, you will not be alone, because everybody and their mother is going to be, and even right now, if stopping at the overlook, say on 64, where I could always pull off, I don't know, fix my coffee, drink whatever, and then just keep continuing on, almost using it like a pit stop. Now you have to maneuver and figure out where you're going to park, and then you can't get a picture because 50 people are taking selfies, and it gets very, very crazy. So, tourist season crowd. So we're moving right along because I want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. Next up is the infrastructure challenges. Let me talk about the infrastructure. While Charlottesville, I have said this before and I stand behind it. I swear to you, Charlottesville planning, Albemarle County, this is not just Charlottesville either. Not picking on the Charlottesville government or the many fabulous people who work there. Charlottesville, Albemarle, Greene County, all of these are the same. The infrastructure is so long in planning that it's like a freaking church convention where they're going to sit around and disagree for 40 years and then decide, it's too late now because there's nothing that can be done. What? So the infrastructure is a result of that kind of, and again, I am not in government. I am not casting shade. I think this is just, unfortunately, the way things get laid out and have been for the million plus years that I've lived here. The infrastructure is not growing to keep up with the need. A prime example of this would be Greene County right now. Has some beautiful new residential communities going in, but they're all going in at the same time. And there's water issues because it's practically going up by, 25%, 10%. So all of a sudden the water is becoming an issue, but yet instead of dealing with that, when they approved the housing, they just sort of figured they'd deal with it after the housing got built. So the infrastructure can be a challenge, and it can be hard for it to keep up. This includes construction, road repairs, and another big one that you're going to want to know about, it also means fiber internet. Fiber internet can be, to find fiber internet or live where there's fiber internet can actually be a bit of a nuisance because it's not everywhere. It's not in many of the outlying counties, although it is coming in. That is in process. But internet is one of the questions I ask you when we're looking at living in Charlottesville for you. Because if you work from home, if you now stream instead of have cable, then we're going to need good internet for you. And that is not always the option around the area. And quite honestly, there's some areas that are within 5-mile radius of where I'm standing that don't have internet. So that is why infrastructure is a challenge. So another reason you need to call me, text me, email me. We need to make sure that we find you the best place when living in Charlottesville, including internet options. Next up, limited shopping. And this has actually gotten worse if you ask me. If you are someone who loves to shop, you might find Charlottesville a bit lacking in options. I'm not going to say you're going to not be able to find what you need, but what I'm saying is instead of finding a couple of variations, you may have to settle with option one in a color that you hate kind of thing. Unless you are willing to drive and go elsewhere. We have amazing local owned stores, but for a wider variety and big name brands, you probably might, and no, I'm just kidding, you will need to travel nearby larger areas, Richmond, DC, that kind of thing. A prime example of that is so my daughter recently got married in the past few years in looking for her wedding dress. Now she actually wanted something very simple. I can tell you what, I was ready to head up to New York to go to Kleinfeld because she's my only daughter and I was ready to go there. But she wanted something very simple. Couldn't find it in Charlottesville. We actually did go to a couple of the dress stores here in Charlottesville. She actually found her beautiful wedding dress over in the valley, over in Waynesboro area. So again, she couldn't find it here. We had to travel. She also found, because I guess now y'all who are getting married do multiple dress changes and everything. So she found her secondary dress for the reception up in DC. On that same token, mother of the bride dress, I could not find anything in Charlottesville. So we ended up going to Richmond, and I found my mother of the bride dress in Richmond. Because again, that's where more major shopping is. And that's where, places like Macy's is and, larger bridal stores and things. So again, one event, 3 different places to find 3 different dresses. Shopping can be limited, just know it. Finally, while many people are looking for and love that small town feel that Charlottesville does possess, it's not going to be for everyone. This goes back to what when I was talking about earlier about rolling the sidewalks up. If you're used to the hustle and bustle of big cities and of variations and this and that and the other and options, blah, blah, like a dear friend of mine, her world is New York. And right now she's living here in Charlottesville. And you can tell she's miserable. She's miserable. She wants to be able to go out at 2 a.m. and get any kind of food she wants. She wants to be able to do stuff, when she wants and have a full gamut variety. You're not going to have that in Charlottesville. The slower pace here can be an adjustment, and it can be a challenge for those who don't know it. So on that, I'm going to end it because now I feel like I've rained on everybody's parade. But you know what? I don't want you to move here thinking it's all going to be Cinderella or Snow White and the birds are singing and the mice are making pretty, it's not all that. You need to understand. Again, I love Charlottesville, or I would have been long gone. And I did leave and I came back and I left again. But that's a whole nother therapy session. It's not going to be for everybody. And I want you to know that. But These are the things to consider before moving to Charlottesville. Every place has its pros and cons. So don't come after me, especially if you live here in Charlottesville, and say, I can't believe you said that. Every place has its pros and cons. It's important to know about it before you move there and get into the environment. All right, folks. So those are some of the major considerations I wanted to share with you on this fine frickin' 500-degree day in Charlottesville. Every place has its pros and cons. So don't come after me. If I thought this Charlottesville was such a horrible place, I would have been long gone. All right. And I know there are other places. I love Charlottesville. Charlottesville is near and dear to my heart. That's why I do this channel, because I want to share that with you. But I'm not trying to put butter on a biscuit and smooth it past you. I want you to understand. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you got something out of it. If you enjoyed today's content, would really appreciate a thumbs up so that I know I'm delivering what you're asking for and looking for. Remember, I help folks buy homes, sell homes. We've actually been getting, our inventory has been going up, and I've been listing quite a few homes, and relocate. So I know what you're going through, and that's what I'm trying to get across. I want people in our community who are comfortable and know about Charlottesville. So until next time, encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any content. Leave me a comment below if there's something you want to know more about. But until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.